Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the E91 rebuild series. So for those who have subscribed or just watched my previous videos, I was talking in Russian. So today I want to experiment and see how it goes speaking in English, see how that reflects in views, subscriptions. So it's a new channel, so I am going to experiment and see which direction to take. So just to recap for those who haven't watched the previous episodes, I have bought a 2006 E91. It's a 330 diesel with automatic gearbox. The car does not run, I've never heard it run. The gearbox was in the boot of the car when I bought it. Then I tried to fit it, broke the sump. Now I've got a new sump, so I'm going to try to fit that. This is what you're going to see in this episode. And hopefully I can get the gearbox back on as well and actually try to start the car. So let's crack on with the job and get the things done. So finally the sump is off. It was a lot harder than anticipated to be fair. It didn't help that my engine crane has decided to give up. It only lifts to a certain height, so as you may have seen from time lapse, it took me a few tries to lift the engine high enough, but I've achieved the target. The sump is out. I've got the new sump, well, the second hand sump, next to the old sump. They look exactly the same. So can't really see any bits of metal, just a little bit of dirt that just dropped in the old sump. So this is the reason why I had to take it off, because I broke it. It's a significant crack. It goes all the way to the bottom of the sump from the top. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't have it welded. So what I'm going to do is clean up the new old sump and fit it to the car, and then hopefully I can fit the gearbox back on and start the car up. So let's give this a clean. So as you have seen, cleaned up the sump a little bit. The inside of it cleaned up very well. It's very clean. All I've used was collision brake cleaner that took off all the old oil really well. On the underside, or on the outside of the sump, I had to use a wire brush a little bit. Some of the oil was solidified basically, so I used wire brush and then used a little bit of brake and clutch cleaner, and that took off some more of the dirt. Just makes it nicer to work with cleaner parts. Obviously if I bought a new sump or didn't break one in the first place, then I wouldn't have had to do all this. So now that the sump is clean. Let's try and fit it. And I have a new gasket, so I will use a little bit of silicone on the face of the sump, place the gasket, and probably put a little bit of silicone on the top of the gasket just to make sure it doesn't leak, and then install many bolts. I think there's about 20 odd bolts on this sump, and some of them are not very easy to get to, so let's get this installed. Right, so a quick update on the progress so far. The sump is fitted, all the bolts are there. I do need to torque them up. Didn't get a chance to do that last night, it got pretty late. I need to refit the flex plate because I had to take that off to get the sump out. Once that's done, I can go back to refitting the gearbox as well as torque converter, and hopefully I can start the car today. So let's see how it goes. Another update, so the gearbox is now bolted on, the torque converter bolted on. All I've got left to do now, I don't know if you can see, so the gearbox is there, it's all plugged in, the wiring plugged in, the oil cooler lines for the gearbox plugged in. All I've got to do now is to fit the starter motor, put some oil in, and I think I should be good to go, at least to try to start the engine. I'm not going to run it for long because obviously there's no oil in the gearbox. I pretty much want to just make sure that the engine starts, so literally it's going to be 2-3 seconds. So I'm going to fit the starter motor and try to crank it over and see what happens. Another thing that I've done was take off the air filter housing. It's quite obvious that the car hasn't been serviced for a while. The air filter is covered in dirt, sand, hay, pretty much like the rest of the car really. So that's going to be one of the other things I'm going to have to change, is the air filter. Just generally do an oil service. I will be taking the inlet manifold off as well, just to make sure that spare flaps haven't dropped in, and also delete them if they're still there. I've done that on all M57 engines I've had. I had several E39s, and spare flaps was one of the first things to go. So I'm going to fit the starter motor and give it a go, see how it goes. Right, I have fitted the starter motor, put some oil in the engine, replace the battery because the old one was completely dead, and now I'm going to try to start the car for the first time in my ownership. So really nervous, I'm not going to lie. Right, no errors this time. I heard the fuel pump. Engine light is on, I'm guessing. Foot on the brake. It works. It bloody works. Well, apart from this warning light, the car bloody runs. I'm really happy right now. I bought this car without hearing the engine work. The engine apparently cut out while the driver was, previous owner was driving. So I bought this as a bit of a cat in the bag really, not knowing where it is, what's going to happen. But this engine's good. It sounded really good as well. So I just need to put the rest of the car back together, finish off the drivetrain. So I need to put the prop shaft back in, exhaust back on, a few other little bits and pieces, fill up the gearbox with oil, and then hopefully try and drive in the car. So yeah, good results.